I've practiced. I've done this enough times to know that the first thing I should do is smile and wave, because if not, you're going to have me like staring at my screen. So let me clean up here. Good morning. Happy Friday. Ro Diaz. Welcome. 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 Let me make sure I got the comments over here on YouTube. How's everyone doing today? How are you on Friday? How is your July? Where are you from? Let's connect before we dive right in. Tell me where you're from. Do you guys see my breakfast over here? I didn't eat it yet. I'm at the point of my July where I'm just like, I'm ready for summer to be done. I'm ready for it to be done. But there is some exciting stuff happening in relationship world during this summer, including the topic that we're going to get into today, which is J-Lo, or should I say JF? JF? Jeff? Jaff? Anyways, Jennifer Lynn Affleck is now officially married to Ben Affleck. And I've been trying to talk about this topic all week long, but now that we are here in our Friday Love Live episode, I want to dive deep into it, especially with the controversy revolving around where they got married, how they got married, when they got married, and the name change, because there's been a lot of talk about that, a lot of opinions. So where does a Christian relationship coach's perspective come in, and how can you learn and grow from this in your own faith walk and journey towards finding the love of your life and creating a happy, healthy marriage and relationship and beyond? So before we get into all that, let me go ahead and introduce myself. Hello. How are you? Good morning. Happy Friday. My name is Selina Almodovar. I'm a Christian relationship coach for women, and I help women of faith create the love life that they have been praying for, with Christian tips on dating, being single, and finding true love and creating the relationship that will lead to a long-lasting, healthy, faith-filled, God-centered marriage. And so that's where we are today. Today, you're joining me. If you have some coffee or whatever it is in your cup, then raise it up. Hello, we have made it to the weekend, and we've made it to this very interesting talk. Let me just if I could just do this. I feel like anytime J-Lo makes headline news when it comes to relationship talk and now marriage talk, I need to talk about it. Why? Because she's Puerto Rican, and Puerto Ricans need to stick together. So yes, I'm going to be talking about her. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. If you do like it, please tune in. And while you're tuning in, please subscribe, please like, please share this post, share this live, share the video if you're watching the replay, and let's talk about it, okay? For starters, I was always compared to J-Lo, not because of my smooth dancing skills, which is laughable, but because I used to wear the same hat as her and the same capri pants and stiletto shoes in college, with thinking I was J-Lo. But yeah, that was that. So clearly I say all that to say that J-Lo has been around for a very long time, as well as this relationship with Ben Affleck. It started in the early 2000s. If you were around for that, I was certainly around for that. And J-Lo, when people think about J-Lo and her love life, they say that it's almost laughable. Why? Because we all have laughable instances in our own relationships. I digress. However, J-Lo has been in and out of the media when it comes to her relationships for looking like over 20 years now. You know, she was married before she met Ben Affleck, and then she dated Diddy, who is now Puff Daddy, who is now whoever he calls himself these days. And then after that breakup happened, she then started dating Ben Affleck when they made the not so critically acclaimed movie Gigi. We still don't know how to say it after all this time, but they started dating back in, let me see, look at my notes, 2002 actually. And then a couple months after that, you know, they felt a love, they felt this energy there. It was very magnetic, if you will. And after a few months of dating, they decided to get engaged. And so there was a big speculation, oh, they're going to have this wonderful wedding. It's going to be extravagant. It's going to be wonderful. It's going to be wild. And then Ben Affleck started getting cold feet. And then all of a sudden you hear the rumors about, they're not really a happy couple, but they are still going to get married. I want you to keep that in mind, okay? When Ben Affleck and JLo first started dating back in the early 2000s, yes, they were madly in love with each other, but there were things within themselves that were causing problems and tensions within the relationship, which made their engagement a little difficult to maneuver, okay? I want you to peep this. They were engaged for about a year before they decided to postpone the wedding, before they decided to call it quits. Okay. And from there, they both went on their separate ways. They both went on to find other loves of their life. Jennifer Gardner for Ben Affleck, Mark Anthony for J-Lo. Coming from a Puerto Rican to see J-Lo and Mark Anthony together, that was like the security blanket that we all needed as Puerto Ricans. We were just like, yes, finally, perfect. That works. Like that makes sense. Like we all thought that was a great idea, brilliant idea, highly praised. They both, Ben and JLo, both went on to have children in these marriages. Why? Because even though they had love and they lost love and they were very heartbroken from love, it did not stop them from wanting to pursue their dreams of this family connection, this creating roots, creating this legacy. They did, to be honest, I don't think they were like, oh, I'm going to have this fake life with this other person and never be happy. I genuinely feel like they both were trying to move on. I genuinely feel like they put themselves in the past, like they left it there. That was their ex. That's what you're supposed to do with an ex. You're supposed to just leave it in the past and move forward. Don't look back. They did keep in touch here and there. Okay. It wasn't like they were best friends texting each other at nighttime when their spouses were asleep, but they did keep in touch. Why? Because this is Hollywood. Of course, you're going to have the connections. You don't know who knows who and when you're going to need those people for whatever reason, whatever projects you're working on. So I say all that to say that bam, this is like a huge rom-com. I swear to you, this is a rom-com in the making, and it's going to happen on Lifetime or some other time. It's going to happen. But what happens? Ben Affleck is still not happy with himself. Okay. Doesn't matter who he's with. Doesn't matter what relationship he's in. Doesn't matter if he procreates, or does not procreate with children. He was not happy. And because he was not happy, he was going to his ways of coping unhappiness. He was drinking, he was gambling. The same issues that broke him and JLo up is the same issues that broke up him and Jennifer Gardner. They had a divorce. Divorce sucks. Nobody likes it. I certainly do not. Okay. So they got divorced. And then, oh, whoa, what happens? JLo gets divorced as well, right? Her and Mark Anthony, they're just not on the same page anymore. They're just only doing this for the kids at this point. They needed to grow, they needed to evolve, and they felt like they could not do that in the space that was provided within their marriages. Who am I to judge? Who are you to judge? They went their own separate ways. That does not mean that they went back to their exes. Again, they're still trying to move forward, right? So you see Ben Affleck dating other people. You see J-Lo in a full-blown new relationship with A-Rod, right? We thought that was going to work out. Puerto Ricans were like, all right, that's fine, whatever. So we were cool with it, right? Everybody was cool with it. And then what ends up happening? J-Lo is in a relationship with A-Rod for 4 years. Okay. I want you to understand something. J-Lo has been in and out of a lot of heavy relationships. Okay. Relationships that were hard, loved hard. Okay. Relationships that were very committed, and relationships that she felt was safe enough to bring in her children, which is a huge thing, because if you're dating out there, you're not just going to introduce your kids to just anybody, right? Because you want to protect your kids from becoming attached to something that's not going to be long standing. And so JLo was in these serious relationships now with her children involved. And she was like, yes, if I'm going to do this, we're going to go all in. We're going to do it. Right. So her and A-Rod together for a total of 4 years. It took them 2 of those years to finally get engaged. She was moving at a very slow pace, and I don't blame her, right? Because you just came out of a marriage that you thought was going to be forever. Okay. I don't think anybody gets married with the intention of, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll just break up. Like, no, you're going into a marriage because you're like, I have very high hopes and expectations that this is the person I'm going to grow old with. Right. And so they're getting married and something's not right, right? They end up being engaged for 2 years. I want you to peep the details of this, okay? J-Lo was engaged to A-Rod for 2 years before finally deciding to call it off. Now, naturally, you guys are probably out there thinking, oh, well, 2020 happened, the shutdown happened, like that stalled a lot of things. Yes, it did. But am I the only one that was watching TikTok and Instagram reels and YouTube videos of people who got married in spite because it didn't matter what venues were closed or what people could travel? I mean, they made it work. I know people firsthand that was like, this ain't about to stop what God's trying to plan in our lives. Like, we're going to push through. Our plans may not have been what we wanted them to be, but guess what? We're here and so is our love. And at the end of the day, we're getting married, regardless of what the world tries to stop. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, you could say that that was something that stopped them. But at the same time, I think it was a really good time of reflection for J-Lo as well, because it took her 2 years to get engaged. And then guess what? She didn't engage them. But then very shortly after, that is when you have Ben Affleck and J-Lo reunite. Okay. They have always been fond of each other. They've always respected their talent and their hard work ethics, right? They respect the fact that they had other relationships and they have other children. They respected the fact that their children are very valuable to them in their life right now, and they don't come second or third to anyone, right? They understand this. So now it seems as though they are both at a place in their life where they have not only achieved the goals that they have set out for themselves in personal affairs, like having a family, having kids, and in professional affairs, such as, working on your craft, working on your skills, growing up your career ladder, right? They're both at a place now where they have what they set out to have. And you would think that one would be happy having all the stuff that Ben Affleck and J-Lo have. All of their dreams have been coming true. The finances are overflowing and abundant. They are at a good place. And now you see that they're at a great place internally, right? They're at peace with themselves. They're happy with themselves, and they've reached a certain point in their life where they're like, I'm going to go after the things I really want. I know what I want. I know what I want, and now I'm going to go after it. And so they decided to get back together, because why not? J-Lo has always mentioned that Ben Affleck was the love of her life. Ben Affleck has always mentioned that he had a high respect for her and that he loved the person that she is, and that he will always have love for her. So of course they're going to go and get back together. Now peep this. They started getting together. Okay, there was talk that Ben Affleck was sliding into the DMs, when J-Lo was having beef with A-Rod, right? But they kind of started dating officially last year in April. So April 2021, they got engaged. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I misquote this? They started getting married. They started getting together in 2021. Shortly after, they got engaged. April 21 is when they got engaged, right? And then they get married in July. They get married in July. They didn't wait a whole year. They didn't wait 2 years. They didn't wait for the big venue. They say, you know what? I know what I want. I'm going to go after what I want because I want to be happy. At the end of the day, all of this other stuff, I just want to be happy. And that's exactly what they decided to do. Now, oh, but they rushed into this. Did they though? I'm pretty sure that if they felt something about this person, if they had any regrets about the relationship from the past, about what they did or about what the other person did, I'm pretty sure before they got into it the second time, they talked about it. They were like, well, what about this? We don't want history to repeat themselves. Well, this is what I did. Well, that's what I did. I'm pretty sure they had that conversation, because why else would you choose to publicly date your ex after it went so terribly wrong in the media? I'm sure they were like, if we're going to do this, We're going to make sure that we do it right. And as you should have that conversation if you're deciding to, try a second time or a third time with somebody that you really love. Like, you need to sit down and be like, listen, we're going to confront the issues that were of the past that broke us apart the first time. And we're going to see how are we going to prevent those issues from resurfacing or tearing apart what we're trying to build in the future, right? I'm pretty sure they had that. So for one, I'm very happy that they finally got married. Like, they don't know anybody anything. And at the end of the day, they knew what they wanted. They knew themselves enough to know that it was okay to get what they wanted. And they got it and they went after it, right? So July, I believe it was the 16th. It was this past Saturday. I'm not good with the math. You do the math. They got married in Vegas, a little white chapel. There was a little bit of delay. There's some talk online saying, oh, Ben Affleck got married the same day that he divorced Jennifer Gardner. I don't think that really is the reason why they chose that day, because they did it a little after midnight, kind of just to avoid the paparazzi. This was not a spur of the moment thing. They were not out there shooting craps and then they were like, hey, let's get married. This was very planned out. This was meticulously planned out. So much so that they had stunt doubles. They had decoy people to like misguide the paparazzi so that they could sneak in and do like this private ceremony chapel thing, right? There was a little bit of delay, which is why it ran into the midnight hour. And that's because they wanted Elvis. Like, you're in Vegas, of course, you want Elvis to marry you. Like, let's make this fun. I think on my 20th wedding anniversary, I'm going to tell Kyle, like, hey, let's go to Vegas and let's renew our vows and let's just do it. Like, how fun would that be? You know what I mean? So they did this thing. Apparently they talked about this a lot. Apparently they talked about this 20 years ago. Like, this is not a new plan. This is not a spur of the moment thing. They picked out dresses and they picked out tuxes that were in their closets. You don't think that they haven't gone through it wasn't like they woke up and they were like, what am I going to wear? They're like, no, that would look so cute if we ever did this plan. And then they finally did it. So much so that they called it a plan. Like, it was an Operation Decoy Brides. Like, it was a whole thing. It was a thing, right? So they did it their way. And isn't that how you want to do it? I feel like in so many instances today, and correct me if I'm wrong, please join the comments and tell me your comments right now. I feel like a lot of people feel a pressure of how to get married from everyone else. And they forget that the marriage is really only for the bride, the groom, God, because that's who's making the covenants. Those are the people who are making the vows, right? You are, let me break down a wedding to you, okay? In a traditional wedding, I don't know what people do these days, but in a traditional wedding, you are turning to face your spouse, your future spouse, right? You turn and you look at them. I, so, vow to blah, 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 right? And then you have the officiator saying, do you promise to uphold and blah, blah, blah? And you say, I do, right? You're not saying I do to your spouse, because you said your vows to your spouse already. So what is happening in that, right? What's happening there? You are saying vows to your spouse, right? I vow and I promise to uphold and keep, to love you and honor you in sickness and health, for richer or prior, for death do us part. So God helps me, right? You're saying these promises to each other. And then the officiator, the pastor, the priest, your best friend, whoever it is, they say, now, Selina, do you promise to uphold and keep? Now you're making a promise to God. I do, God. I promise I am making this covenant with you to honor this person, to respect this person, to love this person in sickness and in health. And if you really want to break apart a wedding, the reason why the people are there as witnesses is because they make a vow as well. If this ever happened to you, I believe it happened in our wedding. I'll have to look at the video, but I believe what happens is that the officiator says, do you, witnesses in the stands? It's right before the, speak now, forever hold your peace. Do you promise to hold these people accountable, to make sure that they love each other and to guide them in this pursuit of love? Like, they say that. And then the people say, We do, right? So this is all it's not about flowers, it's not about invitations, it's not about who's there, it's not about how grand it is, but we have made it so mainstream because at the end of the day, people see this as a business and people want to grow from it and people want to gain from it. And so yes, it's this extravagant party. Does it need to be? Absolutely not. Because remember, at the end of the day, all you need is you, the one you love, God. You need someone to officiate it, for the state of wherever you're at, and you want your witnesses because you want people to witness the fact that you've done this, and you want people to hold you accountable in doing it, because a relationship should never just be two people. It should be multiple to surround you, to protect you, but at the same time, you don't need it. I think the only people that were at this little white chapel with Ben and JLo were the other four couples that were getting ready to get married. And I believe Emmy was there, JLo's daughter. I think Max was there. And I think one of Ben Affleck's kids was there. And that was it. They didn't say who else was there. I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more as the story rolls on. Okay, but you don't need a whole lot of people and you don't need a whole lot of things. I think what ended up happening is, again, this is a rom-com, right? I think what ended up happening is that Jen and Ben were planning this big event, and all along as they were planning this big party, they were like, it's too big. We're going to do it our way. We're going to do it when we want to do it. And we're going to plan Operation Decoy Brides in the process. And we're going to just have fun. You and me. That's what it always should have been. I think, what is the movie where, it's Sex in the City. It's Sex in the City where Carrie, the movie part one, where she is wanting to get married to Big. And Big's like, okay, like, let's just get married. Like, why do we have to make it big? And she's like, oh, because it's so fun. And all of these people are funding my dress and they're doing this and we're doing that. We're going to do it in the library. And it's going to be so awesome. And my intimate wedding guest of 80 is now 200, now 500. Now there's 1,000 people coming to the wedding. And it freaked him out, right? Because he was like, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not that person. And then the whole movie goes on as it goes. But then at the end of the movie, they find each other and they're like, we made it bigger than big. Jessica Parker says, what's her name? Carrie. Carrie says, I made the wedding bigger than big. And a lot of the times when people get engaged, they get so excited because they're praying for this man to come. They're praying for this husband to arrive. They're praying for this marriage. Why? Why are you praying for this marriage? Why are you praying to get married? You're doing it because of the future, because of the fruit that comes from planting this seed down. You're doing it because of the person that you want to become as a wife, maybe as a mother, maybe as somebody else. Maybe you don't want to grow old together. Maybe you're tired of being isolated and alone. And you're like, I never want to feel this for the rest of my life. I want someone, I want a companion. You're doing it not because you're like, oh man, I want to get married so bad because of the flower arrangement. I want to get married so bad because of the cake. You're not saying that. You're saying it because of what happens after the wedding. Okay? And so when you get engaged and you're like, oh my God, look at the ring. Oh my God. I very rarely wear my diamond. I very rarely wear it. Why? Because it doesn't matter. This one does. The wedding band does, right? And people get so caught up in the wedding, in the logistics of it, of who's coming, and oh, this person's going to get offended and that person's going to get offended. And you start to make it this reflection of what you want people to see in the union that you're creating. So now all of this big party and all of how you're doing it and why you're doing it and the stress of doing it and the pressure to do it is not because of you and your future spouse. It's because I want to reflect the life and the union that I am about to have with this future person. You're making it this extraordinary thing because you want people to see and connect. Wow, this is going to be just a visual example of what we are getting ready to do as husband and wife. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments if you disagree. Tell me in the comments if you think I'm crazy. Because it's not about the wedding. It's about the promises, and then it's about the action towards the promises that you aim to keep, you know? And so J-Lo got married, Ben Affleck got married, and it's so as she explains all of this, she is saying, where's the quote? Let me see. I wrote the quote down. We did it. Love is beautiful, love is kind, and it turns out love is patient. 20 years patient. You guys know this is scripture, right? Love is patient, love is kind. This is one of the most used this is the one of the most used scriptures in weddings. Usually people who are faithful, who are faith-based, like they want to use this because they want to say that they found this love. They found the love that is patient. They found the love that is kind. They found the love that is beautiful, right? And 9 times out of 10, like the reason why Kyle and I did not use this verse in our wedding is because this isn't necessarily addressing a love between a man and a woman. This is addressing the love between God and his people. And it's a reflection of how people should treat people. I think the verse that Kyle and I used was back in Genesis. They found each other. They were naked and unashamed. Like we described the very first wedding in our wedding because we wanted people to know that we are standing here as future husband and future wife to let you know that we are completely naked and vulnerable and exposed all of our parts, inward and outer, fear, embarrassment, shame, sin. We've showed everything to each other and we're no longer ashamed and we still love each other unconditionally. And that is where your marriage, that is the grounds that your marriage should stand on before you say, I do. But she says it here, love is patient, kind, and it's 20 years patient, which means this person knew what she was doing. She waited for it. In all of the other loves that she had, she was comparing the love. And she was like, it's not the same. I don't feel the same. I don't love the same. But when I'm with Ben, this is what I feel. And so that is where I'm at, right? And it's interesting because she then changes her name. This is the huge headline right now. She changes her name to Jennifer Lynn Affleck. And everybody's like, why would you do that? Oh my God. And I even took a poll about it. And I said, if you had to change your name, like, would you do it? Or would you hyphenate your name? Or would you want him to change his name? I read an article in Cosmo that said, why didn't he change his name to Ben Lopez? Like, wouldn't that be something that the women need of today's world? And it made me feel some kind of way because when I took the poll among my people, I would like to think that the people who follow me on Instagram and YouTube are majority faith-based. Okay. A lot of you guys said you would take the last name of the man. A lot of people said, I would not because of the hassle of changing a name. Okay, that's your preference. That's fine. A lot of people say I would hyphenate my name because I don't want to lose my identity. Okay, that's fine. I remember I had a person who said I would keep my name because my father never had boys. And so if I were to marry and switch my name completely over, then my father's family line lineage would die out. Okay. There is no right or wrong as to how you do it. But what I want to tackle here is that people feel like, oh, because J-Lo is a brand, she should have kept her branded name. But the message that she is sharing speaks much higher volumes than just a simple brand. Well, it's not simple. It's a very luxurious brand, but it's a little more complicated than that because she is telling the world, okay? She is telling the world that, thanks for joining me, it doesn't matter. The business doesn't matter. Hollywood doesn't matter. My job doesn't matter. I am telling you that I'm connected with this person once and for all. And we are moving together as a unit once and for all. I am his wife. She wants you to get that clear that she is his wife. They are a couple. They are an item. They are cleaved together. Using the Bible reference, when you leave your parents and you cleave onto your spouse, they are cleaving with one another. And she is demonstrating that to the public, not only in the actions of marrying this man, but also in action of changing her name. So I told you guys many of the reasons why people would change their name. And where did the name change come from? I did some research there. Let's see. Where are my notes? Let me see. It dates back to the 11th century. If you really want to like Google wiki it out, if you have time for that. And it says that the women would change their last name to wipe out their identity and to become property of the man. Okay. And so now a lot of women in this modern world have an issue with that because they're like, I don't want to lose my identity. This man does not own me. And so therefore I am keeping my name. I'm going to remain an individual and I'm going to be married and I will be respected as an individual in this marriage. Oh, that's what people say. And power to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do otherwise. Why? Because I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to condemn. I'm here to share my opinion. And I would love for you to share yours in the comments as well. So what do I have to say about it? I have to say, let me change this up here. Okay. What do I have to say about it? I don't base anything on the 11th century. I base it all the way back to BC times. I base it back to the Garden of Eden. Let's put it like that. Because marriage came before the fall. Marriage came before sin. Marriage came before men owning people owning people. It came before all of that. It came in the perfect paradise, in God's perfect creation, where he thought or he knew that, we were destined to be and live out our days for the rest of our life. And so when you change your name, number one, people are saying that they're going to change their identity. And yes, you are changing your identity. The minute you decide to get married, the minute you say, I do, I now pronounce you husband and wife, you kiss the bride, as soon as you get married, your identity changes, whether your name changes or not. Why? Because you're no longer single. You are now a wife. Okay. You are no longer in a relationship with anybody. You are now in a union with somebody. Okay. So automatically your identity is going to change. The same thing happens when you become a mom. The same thing happens. You are no longer just a mother. You're no longer just a wife. You're no longer just a woman. You're now a mother. That changes the trajectory of your life because now you have this new mantle that you have put on. So yes, whether you want to put it on paper or not, your identity is certainly changed. You are now a wife. A wife does not act like a single woman. A wife does not act like a girlfriend. Okay. A wife acts like a wife, and you must learn, you and your husband must now take that first honeymoon season to discover who you are now as this new identity. Okay. Selena Rivera is a completely 2,000 million % different person than who Selina Almodovar is today. Okay. Yeah, there's some characteristics that are still there. Like, yeah, I'm still, I still say some crazy things and, my reactions are still the same, but who I am, what I'm capable of doing, what God is calling me to do, completely different. Completely different. And you have to live your life as such, right? And so JLo is telling the world, I'm not JLo. What I did as JLo, who I was as JLo, what you thought of me as JLo is now all going to change because I'm no longer that person. I am now Jen Affleck. And Jen Affleck does this, and Jen Affleck believes in that. The other thing I want to point out, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but it has to do a lot with tradition as well. Okay. I'm Puerto Rican and J-Lo is Puerto Rican. So I'm going to speak a little bit on this. And if you're out there, if you're Puerto Rican, maybe you can tell me if you agree or not. But I feel like we are raised as Puerto Ricans to really value the home. Okay. We take pride as women. We take pride in making our houses homes. We take pride in being a part of a family unit. And if we decide to get married, we want our family to be whole and we want to be a major part of that. And so I feel like the name change is really strongly connected to that belief, connected to that tradition of like, we are going to turn this house into a home. We are going to turn this future into something that we care for, that we love. Like, we take pride in, serving the household. We take pride in serving the husband. Now, mind you, there's a lot of relationships out there that are not as good, that maybe never end in a marriage, never end in a lifelong partnership, but it doesn't stop the woman from trying to play the wife role, from trying to take care of the house and trying to take care of the man, and having that submission kind of mindset. It doesn't mean that you are owned property of a man. It doesn't mean that you are losing your identity to be the woman that God has called you to be, because God doesn't take away, he doesn't revoke your gifts or your rights or your skill sets as a woman simply because you decide to get married to the man God has for you. As a matter of fact, I believe he enhances it. Marriage is not a takeaway. Marriage is not a punishment. Marriage is not a prison sentence. It's not a bondage. Marriage should be the thing that elevates you. Marriage should be the thing that complements you. Marriage should be the thing that is like the catalyst to bring you even further into the calling that God has created you to call, to address. And so I think when she decided to take the last name, she is doing it, number one, to send a message out to the world that this is who I am now. I'm a new person. Number two, she's doing it because as a Puerto Rican, tradition would be, we are one household, period. And I'm going to submit to this household. And I'm going to believe and trust that the man that I chose to marry is going to become the provider, not financially speaking, because I'm sure JLo has a ton of money. Like, I'm sure she could take care of herself, but he's the provider in the sense that he is going to create the security within the home. Okay. She's going to create the security emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We don't know where they are at. I don't know what Ben Affleck's faith is. I don't know what her faith is, but I do know that they are in agreement that he is going to be the covering of the home. And so therefore he bears the last name and everyone bears it thereafter, you know? So that is what I believe. Why I chose to go with Almodovar. I mean, number one, it was a really hard name to spell, to pronounce. And uh, why would I go from that when I had Rivera as my maiden name? Someone once told me a long time ago, when I get married and I have kids, my kids are going to be named after my husband. And I don't want to be the only one with a different last name. I want us to all have the same uniformed name because we are all one home. And if I had a hyphenated name, or if I never changed my name and he had his name and the kids had hyphenated or different names, we wouldn't all have the same name. And so therefore it would not cause a confusion, but it would not show the uniformity of our house. And so I want us all to have the same name. And I agreed with that. I thought that that was really solid wisdom, and it spoke to me. And so that's why I chose to have my last name changed. And yes, you got to go through paperwork, and yes, you got to go through a bunch of stuff. You got to go through all the legal stuff, but at the end of the day, it's a small drop in the bucket for how I'm choosing to live my life, how I'm choosing to see my life being lived out, and the uniform message that we are giving to the world that we are one. And, my kids are going to grow up and they're going to leave and they're going to want to form their own thing. And who am I to say you can't do that, So I believe those are the reasons why J-Lo became Jen Affleck. I believe that that is the reason why they decided to get married in Vegas. I believe that they are indeed actually trying to plan out a huge party with their family and friends. So that hasn't lost its interest in that. Like they're still planning a wedding reception, if you will, in Georgia with family and friends. It's going to be very extravagant. I'm sure People Magazine and all the tabloids are going to show tons of videos about it and photos. But for you, the single Christian woman or the woman who's watching this video right now, maybe you're watching the replay, for you guys, I want you to really consider this, okay? Number one, I want you to consider the time it took when she was not with the right person, or if she was with the right person, but they were not the right person in here. It delays the time to say, I do. Okay. And so if you're going to go and you're going to start dating, and if you find someone that is worthy of being your boyfriend, and you find someone that's like worthy of like taking the next step, getting engaged, pay attention to the peace and the joy and the happiness that is within that person, that is within yourself, because you might not be at a place where you're ready to start a new life, where you're ready to start a new chapter or a new identity. And I believe because of that, that is what broke them up 20 years ago. So make sure that you're in a good spot, and make sure that the person that you're choosing to love is also in a good place. Because if you're not, you're never going to advance and grow old and make that next step in saying I do. The reason why JLo and Ben did not wait so long, the reason why they did this so sporadically, is because they knew they didn't have to wait anymore. There was nothing left to do for them. It gave them great pleasure in just doing this, because all of the thought process, all of the healing, all of the evolving that they needed to do to get to this point had happened. So for you out there, don't make this into a 20-year long thing. Just make sure before you decide to go there that you're healed and you're whole and you're healthy and you're ready to pursue that next step with whoever God brings to you. Okay. How do you get there? How do you get whole and happy and healthy? And how do you know that you're confidently like ready to even take that step and even ready to go there? You can follow me, Selina Almodovar. You can go to my website. I have books that will help you connect with God, that will teach you how to date God's way. You can even start as simple as just like getting your mindset right, getting your heart right, getting your attitude right every single morning with my free handout, the morning affirmations for the single Christian woman. You can find it below in my description, or if you're watching me on Instagram, you can go to the link in my bio and you could find it there. Okay. But you want to start making sure that inside of you, you're ready to go, so that when you find that person, you're not waiting, you're not hesitating, you're not confused, you're not trying to work things out, you're not getting cold feet. You're just like, no, we're ready. We're going to take this step. Okay. Before you take those steps, make sure you have the conversation of last names. You have the conversation of traditions and values. You have the conversation of what is the significance of a wedding? What is the significance of getting married? What is the significance of our engagement season? Because a lot of the times you get caught off guard and you're going to start looking at everything else around you, and it's going to have you lose sight and lose focus on what really matters, which is, am I ready to make a promise to God regarding another individual? And am I ready to make promises to this individual of how I'm going to live out the new identity in my life? Thing number three I want to leave you with is, yes, you're going to have a new identity, whether the government calls you a different identity or whether, you choose to have your same last name. You're still going to be a wife. You're still going to have a spouse obligation in your heart, in your spirit, in your mind, in your emotions. So be conscious of that. Not only if you're dating and you're single, but prepare for that new identity when it comes. So many people are so quick to rush into it, not even realizing that wives lose themselves in their marriage because they don't know this new identity, and they never embrace it, and they never move forward with it. Instead, they're like, I'm not the person I used to be. You're not the same man that you used to be. Things have changed because we're now married. And I wish we can go back to the way that we once were. You will never feel that because you have evolved. You were a caterpillar and now you're a butterfly. And you have to accept being a butterfly. You have to learn how to fly because a caterpillar never flew before. Okay. And so these are all very helpful things that JLo and Ben Affleck's story is bringing up that you can use to help you in your pursuit to finding that faith-filled, long-lasting relationship. Okay? Identities, discussions, making sure that you're healthy and whole before ever stepping into this situation in the first place. Okay? Those are all the things that I gathered from this story. I would love to hear what you gathered from this story. Maybe something I said struck out at you and you are just like, "Yes, girl, that is it." Maybe you could tell me in the comments what you learned from this experience. And if you enjoyed this, let me know because I love to talk to you guys about love and relationships. I love to talk to you guys about what's happening in modern dating world, and I love spending time with you guys. As far as next week goes, next Friday, my mother will be here. So she's planning a visit. It's gonna be fun. I don't know if I'm gonna be live. Maybe I'll do a short one. Maybe I'll do one later in the day. I don't know. You let me know what works for you, and I'll meet you here and we'll have our chat together. Okay. But in the meantime, in between time, do not forget if you're on YouTube to subscribe to my channel, share this live with somebody else. Maybe they're J-Lo fans as well and they want to hear. Maybe they're getting married. I mean, and they would love the information. Same thing with Instagram. If you're out there, make sure that you follow, make sure that you share this message with other people, share it on your timeline. I would love it on your stories. What am I going to do now? I'm in my office. Okay. I'm going to be working on my next video. I'm going to eat my breakfast and I am going to get started on how I can get this membership to you guys because that is seriously a thing for women who are single and women who are dating. I want to teach you how to love by faith. That is going to be my monthly membership that I'm going to be putting out there. I've been talking a lot about it. Every time I talk about it and I don't push it out there, I think back to like Dr. Dre and the Chronic 2000 and how he was like, it's coming, the album's coming, the album's coming, and it never came. Or like Rihanna, like it's coming, it's never coming. Like, I don't want to be those people. Okay. I'm definitely going to be working on it. I'm going to put some work into it today and I want to get it back into your hands, hopefully by the fall, which is like right around the corner. And because it's right around the corner, I'm going to bid you adieu. I'm going to say thank you guys for watching. Thank you for supporting, listening, and learning how to love and how to love by faith, and I want you to enjoy your summer. Okay. Enjoy the summer day. Enjoy your weekend. I'll catch you guys again on Monday with my new video that will come out around noon. So be on the lookout for that and take care. Have fun. Bye bye.